The Grizzlies have informed pending free agent Dillon Brooks, according to Shams, that he will not be brought back under any circumstances. Well, that's quite a way to put it. Here's Kendrick Perkins, ESPN NBA analyst. Gotten so famous as an analyst, he's parodied on Saturday Night Live. That's how you know you made it in this country. Here he is on NBA Today. Listen to Perk react to this.
I don't think it's funny, to be honest, on how the Grizzlies are handling this situation for us Dillon Brooks. It's one thing for us to clown and joke about him throughout the course of the series, but when you come back and you say that you're not going to bring him back no matter the circumstances, like zero chances, like this guy is up for a contract. This guy spent 6 years in your organization, and in a couple of those years, he was actually great for you. So at the end of the day, my thing is when it comes down to affecting the livelihood, and it's also a reflection of your organization, this is not the way you want to be trending. If you're trying to be eye candy and attract guys to come in and play alongside Jared Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant, you don't want them to feel like, oh, this is how they did Dillon Brooks. That's how I would look at it. And it's just very disturbing to me that they would handle this situation like this.
So I'm going to go ahead and really push back on Kendrick Perkins here. Robert Parra, who is the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies, Zach Kleiman, who is the GM of the Memphis Grizzlies, and Taylor Jenkins, who is the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, have one of the best organizations in all of sports. In all of sports. If you've gotten a chance to spend time with any of their ownership crew, or if you got a chance to spend time down in Memphis and see how they actually operate, how they overly communicate as a franchise, you see that everything they try to do is very first class or in that manner. To me, this is something or a sign of something bigger with Dillon Brooks, because I don't see Memphis, who has done a really incredible job of insulating a lot of the chaos that's been going on with their team. From Ja Morant to challenges that have happened with other players in the past, like they have kept everything internal. So that has to be a sign of this being bigger than things that we would know when it relates to Dillon Brooks.
I get it.
Because I don't think they would just do that flippantly or just doing it nonchalantly by under any circumstances are we bringing Dillon Brooks back.
I get it, but that's what's so damning about it. The problem is what you said about Memphis, right? So it leads people like me, I see this and I go, damn, what must Dillon Brooks be doing behind the scenes to cause this reaction from them? But that's the problem with it. I think that's why Perk is so hot about it, who's been critical of, guys including Dillon Brooks as a member of the media. But when the organization that is respected says something like that, reasonable people go, damn, what he must be doing behind the scenes. That kills his market, doesn't it? Doesn't that really hurt his bottom line? Key, wouldn't you think that cools off interest in him?
His play is going to cool off the interest. Because if he can play, he's going to get what he's supposed to get, regardless to what organizations say. I kind of agree with Perk to a degree. I don't care about what the ownership and all that, and they're great and everything. Jet, it's cool. You know them, you like them, and you think they do a fabulous job. But when you use the words that they use to describe a guy that's been on the floor for you, you didn't have that problem when you was trying to figure out how to beat the Lakers. You didn't have a problem with him saying what he said about LeBron James being old, doing some of the things that he was doing. You didn't have any issues with that. But the moment that it becomes a free agent, you now say under any circumstances, now, much like to Max saying, everybody's antenna goes up and say, well, what the hell did he do? Mm-hmm. You don't usually say those sort of things about somebody unless it's been just so detrimental to the locker room.
If you're trying to hurt them.
Team, and
you say that if you're trying to hurt them.
You just feel a certain way about them, you say those sort of things. I don't like it because they don't need to say anything, because when you put on the film, you know what he is as a player when you're looking to sign him. You don't have to say anything.
Key, would you want him on the Lakers?
I mean, yeah, why not?
Because he's about to be affordable, it seems to me.
What could he do to help us? All I care about is what can he do to help us. We done had Patrick Beverly on the team. Patrick Beverly's supposed to be, they can't have that guy on the team. We done had Westbrook on the team. If you can play, hell, we going to get Kyrie according to all signs. Everybody is going crazy about Kyrie being a problem in the locker room and on the court. Can you help me win? That's all I care about.
So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and we're going to have to talk about this going into the next hour. I think certain players, when the skill level is so different, you're more apt or more willing as a franchise to take some of the stress or some of the things that come along with, like Antonio Brown, like certain individuals, like, you know what, your skill level is so different.
Hell,
I'm
Dennis
willing to
Rodman.
accept Dennis Rodman. I'm willing to accept some of the crazy things. When your skill level doesn't match some of the chaos that comes along with you, and you put teammates, you could then find yourself on the outside looking in. I think right now, like, the conversation then turns to, like, are we going to find Dillon Brooks on the outside of the league, looking in the league, not worrying he's going to have a job?
They see him as a 3-and-D guy. He doesn't shoot the three. Go ahead, Key.
Jay, that's my concern and my worry. I don't have a problem with them saying, man, you can't help us.
And here's what,
I just have a problem with the words.
I hear you. What I'm trying to allude to, though, is, like, for a team that's done an incredible job of insulating their players for a long time from a lot of this crazy stuff going on, it takes a lot, so much, for them to make that comment.
That's why it kills him.
Yes, I have a red flag up.
That's why it kills him. That's why it kills Dillon Brooks. That's why it kills Dillon Brooks.
What the Memphis Grizzlies tweeted about Dillon Brooks by saying, under no circumstances are we having you come back here. What are your thoughts on that overall?
I thought the Memphis Grizzlies are sending a message, not just to their fan base in the NBA at large, but to the guys in that locker room. Moving forward, this is what we're going to be about. Think about how many disappointing early exits this team has had in the postseason. At some point, you have to change how you do business. You need a shift in your culture. And to me, them saying what they said about Dillon Brooks, yeah, sure, there might have been some things behind the scene context that we don't have, but what I will say is they're also sending a message to their players. I played for Bill Parcells, Key played for Bill Parcells. Coach was a master at sending messages to his players through the media. Like, Bill Parcells would get at you. Sometimes, if he couldn't stoke the fires in you in practice and in the building, he used the media and local beat writers in order to send those subliminal messages and let you know or put you on notice that things have to change. And I think that was the Memphis Grizzlies as a franchise putting the rest of the guys in that locker room on notice. Hey, all of this nonsense, all of this bark, no bite, no substance, that's got to change.
You know, I don't have a problem with them parting ways from him at all. I mean, his play was going to make that happen anyway. But to go the extra and say under no circumstances, because when you say under no circumstances are we going to entertain bringing somebody back, that sends antennas up for me. It's like, okay, so what has he done that's so egregious that they're going to say this? Typically, when you are making a personnel decision about not re-signing a guy or trading a guy, whatever it is, unless he's done some Antonio Brown type stuff where you know he ain't never playing again, you don't say the things that the Memphis Grizzlies said about Dillon Brooks. So now I want to know, what's behind the locker room door, man? What took place?
Well, Key, it's not like they aired Dillon Brooks out. They simply said, we're not coming back with this kind of player under no circumstances. They are sending a strong message that we're not going to tolerate this nonsense. Dillon Brooks, what you did in the playoff series against the Lakers, we ain't going for that.
So it's a message to the rest of the team.
You were essentially a no-show. Yeah, they're sending a message. It's not to the rest of the NBA. It's to the guys in their locker room.
You have to
and
see
they're
that
well within their rights to do that.
I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense, but you must see, like, the fact that they didn't air him out makes it worse because it leaves it to the imagination. So guys like me or Key.
Let's stop that, though, man. Let's stop that. Because if you're a team that's interested in Dillon Brooks in free agency, you're not going to talk to nobody in the front office for Memphis? Like, all of the stuff that we're talking about that we don't know or have insight into, the personnel evaluators, the personnel decision makers in other NBA front offices, they are going to be privy to that information. So whether they air it out, whether they put it in a statement for public consumption or not, people know what's going on.
It addresses his market
from somebody who knows people in the organization. Let me speak on this for a second.
Good.
A lot of people quibble with, well, the way they handle a lot of the chaos and the Ja Morant stuff, like this is an organization that, it's out of control. That's actually not the case. It's actually a lot of mature people in this organization who are trying to get them on the right path. And how they handle Ja Morant is very sensitive, delicate subject matter. So we talk a lot about like whose persona overall creates what the image of the team is. And you talk about like, Memphis, and we want all the smoke. I'm like, is that really Ja Morant? Is that more Dillon Brooks pushing that kind of? I think Ja Morant is young, still trying to find out who he is in this league. And I think Dillon Brooks, that persona, they try to take on that persona, and they're saying that's not.
Jay,
what we're about.
That makes so much sense to me. But Chris, I just want to get back at you with this one. It seems to me that they're doing what you said and what Jay said, right? They're sending a message to the rest of the team, and Jay vouches, no, this is a mature, smart organization. But in order to send a message to the team, they're sacrificing Dillon Brooks on the altar of team building, because how can his value not be depressed around the league when everyone's like, damn, do we even really want to kick the tires on this?
His own play did that, though, Max.
Because he can't shoot.
His own play. A couple of years ago, you're talking about a guy that averaged 26 points a game in the playoffs. So, he's not that guy anymore.
But Chris, back to your point. So if I don't make a statement, I can't depress your value?
That's what I'm saying, Jay.
So if I don't make a statement, and then you call me like, so what happened? Like, that doesn't depress your value?
It probably does on a case-by-case basis.
But that's what
everybody that wants to sign him, anybody that has a need, they're going to call people in Memphis.
And I don't think he will be out of the league. I think he'll get a job, but I think do you think in a parallel universe where they don't say under any circumstances he's going to get paid the same next year as he would otherwise?
Well, I don't know that the words have as much to do as what we saw in the postseason and what we saw during the regular season.
No, you're right.
This is a guy whose game has regressed the last couple of years.
You're absolutely right, Canty. His game has regressed. His play will dictate what type of money he gets. I just don't like the words of what they use under any circumstances that they would re-sign him, bring him back. I understand it might be a message to the team, but now it makes me want to open up the door and look in there and say, well, what the hell did he do for them to say this? It's like they want people to poke in his stuff, dig in his trash can. They're asking people to dig in his trash can because when you say that, people want to know.
Well,
they want to know.
Well, Key, I don't have an allegiance to Dillon Brooks as much as I do to my franchise and to my guys that are going to be on the court for me next year.
But you don't need to say that, though, Canty.
But they do need to. You do need to say it that way to send the message. To send the message to the rest of the guys that are going to be playing for you. You do need to say it that way. Under any circumstances, we're not bringing it back.
I can get your attention.
We're not rocking with guys that act like this anymore.
I can get your attention by having a team meeting and simply saying.
Who's to say they didn't try that, though, Key? Who's to say they didn't try that? I can guarantee you this. You might not like what they said about Dillon Brooks. I can promise you that the folks in Memphis did not like what Dillon Brooks did in poking LeBron James during the playoffs.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.